How pirates survived. Lightning strikes. At sea, pirates feared lightning more than cannon fire. One strike could kill a crew or snap a mast in half. Yet they sailed headfirst into storms and lived to tell it. How did men on wooden ships survive nature's deadliest weapon, and what hidden methods kept them alive? The first thing they do is simple. When lightning crackled across the dark ocean, smart pirates had one rule: get low and stay away from anything metal. This wasn't some casual suggestion either. It was life or death. The moment storm clouds gathered, experienced crew members would scramble below deck faster than treasure hunters diving for gold coins. The lower decks became packed sanctuaries where everyone huddled together, waiting for nature's fury to pass overhead. Here's the thing, though. Why did going below deck actually work? Lightning seeks the highest point to strike. On a ship, that meant the masts, rigging, and anyone foolish enough to stand tall on deck. By moving below, pirates put solid wooden planks between themselves and the electrical death dancing above their heads. Now here's where things got tricky. Pirates lived surrounded by metal: chains, cannons, swords, buckles, even their earrings. During lightning storms, these became death magnets. Smart crews knew to avoid touching anything metal completely. They'd warn newcomers with simple advice: if it's shiny, don't touch it. Some pirates took this seriously enough to strip off metal accessories entirely during storms. Suddenly going from flashy pirate to plain sailor wasn't a fashion choice. It was survival gear. Others learned the hard way when lightning traveled through their sword handles or belt buckles, leaving them with burns that lasted weeks. What's more, the really clever pirates went one step further. They tied themselves to wooden beams using rope, not chain. Lightning could throw a person across the deck in a split second. The electrical charge didn't just burn, it could launch someone overboard or slam them into hard surfaces with bone-breaking force. Even above deck, certain spots offered better protection than others. Pirates learned to crouch behind barrels, water casks, or low railings. These positions kept them below the danger zone while still allowing them to work the ship if absolutely necessary. Being the tallest person on deck during a lightning storm was basically volunteering to become a human lightning rod. Not exactly what most pirates signed up for when they joined the crew. The smart ones would literally crawl on their hands and knees rather than stand upright during the worst moments. On top of that, certain positions became legendary for their safety. The area behind the water barrels was known as the best spot because it was low, protected, and far from metal rigging. The space near the galley was dangerous because of all the cooking pots and knives. The difference between a smart pirate and a dead pirate was often just knowing where to hide when the sky started throwing lightning bolts like angry cannonballs. This wasn't about being brave or cowardly. It was about understanding how electricity behaved and using that knowledge to stay alive. But staying low and avoiding metal contact was just the beginning. Once pirates figured out how to keep themselves alive, they faced an even bigger problem. Their ships were still floating targets in the storm. Managing a pirate ship during a lightning storm required split-second decisions and perfect teamwork. The wrong move could turn your vessel into a floating target for nature's most violent electrical display. The first thing any decent crew did was lower the sails. Makes sense, right? Tall masts with billowing sails were like putting up a giant flag that said, "Strike here, please." By dropping the canvas, pirates reduced their ship's profile against the sky. Lower meant safer. However, this created an immediate problem. Without sails, ships lost their ability to steer properly and could get tossed around by massive waves. It was like trying to control a wild horse after cutting off its reins. Technically, you're still on the horse, but good luck steering it anywhere useful. Pirates had to balance the lightning risk against the very real danger of being smashed by waves or driven onto rocks. Experienced crews learned to lower most sails, but keep just enough canvas up to maintain steering control. They'd use the smallest, lowest sails possible, keeping the main masts as short as they could while still being able to navigate. Next came the wet rope trick. This sounds completely backwards, but pirates would actually wet down their rigging and remaining sails during storms. Water conducts electricity, so this seems like asking for trouble. But here's the clever part. Wet materials spread electrical charges over a wider area instead of concentrating them in one deadly spot. When lightning hit wet rigging, the electrical charge would flow across the surface of the rope and disperse safely into the ocean. Wet rope was basically the difference between getting splashed by a wave and getting hit by a cannonball. Meanwhile, smart captains also learned specific angles for approaching waves during lightning storms. This wasn't just about avoiding getting swamped. It was about positioning the ship so the masts presented the smallest possible target to lightning strikes from above. Beyond that, securing loose metal objects became a frantic race against time. Anything that could move, spark, or conduct electricity had to be tied down immediately. Cannons got lashed to their carriages with extra rope. Tools went into wooden chests. Pirates basically had to turn their ship from a normal sailing vessel into a floating fortress designed to outsmart electricity, all while being tossed around like dice in a gambler's cup. The coordination required was incredible. Some crew members handled the rigging, others secured equipment, while still others watched for lightning strikes and shouted warnings. The most experienced crews could transform their ship from normal sailing configuration to lightning storm mode in less than 10 minutes. They'd practice these procedures over and over because hesitation during a real storm meant death. Yet even the most skilled ship handling couldn't guarantee safety. Pirates discovered they needed some more actual ways to fight back against the lightning itself. Pirates didn't have modern lightning rods, but they weren't helpless either. They created ingenious defensive systems using whatever materials they could find on their ships. The most common defense was hanging wet chains or thick ropes over the sides of the ship. This created a crude but effective grounding system. When lightning struck the ship, the electrical charge would travel down these wet conductors and discharge harmlessly into the ocean instead of frying everything on board. It was like giving lightning a nice, easy path to the water instead of letting it wander around the ship looking for crew members to barbecue. The key was making sure these grounding lines actually reached the water and stayed wet throughout the storm. Let's not forget that some crews got creative with metal placement. Instead of trying to remove all metal from the ship, which was impossible, they'd concentrate non-essential metal objects in specific areas away from where people gathered. Spare chains, extra weapons, and metal tools would all get moved to the forward or rear sections of the ship. Furthermore, the really clever ships started adding primitive grounding systems permanently. They'd attach metal strips or chains to the hull that extended down into the water even during normal sailing. These provided a consistent path for electrical charges to follow away from the wooden ship structure and human crew. At the same time, quick improvisation became an art form. When storms hit without warning, crews had to create lightning defenses using whatever was immediately available. Wet rope could be fashioned into temporary grounding lines in minutes. Metal buckets could be tied together to create crude conductor chains. The best pirate crews could basically build lightning protection out of whatever junk was lying around the deck, like MacGyver, but with more rum and fewer explosions. This required not just knowledge, but the ability to think clearly while nature was literally trying to electrocute everyone on board. The positioning of these makeshift defenses mattered enormously. Grounding chains had to hang free without touching the ship's hull, or they'd conduct electricity directly into the wooden structure. They needed to be long enough to stay in the water even when waves were tossing the ship around violently. The most successful defensive systems were simple and reliable. Complex arrangements with lots of moving parts usually failed when they were needed most. During a lightning storm wasn't exactly the time to discover that your elaborate electrical defense system had more bugs than a ship's biscuit barrel. Pirates needed defenses that worked every time, no questions asked. But even the most ingenious defenses meant nothing if pirates couldn't see trouble coming. The smart crews learned there was a way to avoid most lightning strikes entirely. Reading weather signs became a matter of life and death for pirates. The difference between spotting a storm early and getting caught unprepared was often the difference between living and dying. Experienced sailors could predict lightning storms hours before they arrived by watching cloud formations. Dark, towering cumulonimbus clouds were the biggest warning sign. These massive vertical formations could stretch miles into the sky and contain the electrical charges that would soon be raining down as lightning. Here's the catch, though. Clouds weren't the only clue. Smart pirates paid attention to subtle changes in wind patterns. Before a lightning storm, winds would often shift direction suddenly or become unusually gusty. The air itself felt different, thicker, more charged, with a metallic taste that experienced sailors recognized immediately. Additionally, temperature drops were another reliable indicator. When the air temperature suddenly fell several degrees, it usually meant cold air masses were colliding with warm air, exactly the conditions that created electrical storms. Pirates learned to trust their skin as much as their eyes when it came to reading what the weather had planned for them. Animal behavior provided additional warnings. Seabirds would fly closer to ships before storms, seeking shelter from the electrical chaos about to unfold above the open ocean. Even rats and other shipboard animals would act restless and seek hiding spots hours before lightning began striking. What's more important, distance estimation became a crucial survival skill. Pirates learned to count the seconds between lightning flashes and thunder to determine how far away strikes were occurring. Every 5 seconds between flash and thunder meant the lightning was roughly 1 mile away. This told them whether they had minutes or hours to prepare. Counting lightning became the most important arithmetic any pirate ever learned. Mess up the math, and you might not get a chance to practice addition again. Crews would assign specific people to track lightning distances and report when strikes were getting dangerously close. That said, some areas of the ocean were known for frequent electrical storms. Pirates shared information about these high-risk zones, warning other ships about waters where lightning strikes were more common. Certain seasons also brought increased storm activity, and experienced crews planned their routes accordingly. Nevertheless, the most dangerous situations occurred when storms developed faster than predicted. Sometimes clear skies could turn into electrical hailstorms in less than an hour, giving crews almost no time to prepare. These surprise storms tested every skill pirates had developed for reading early warning signs. Being wrong about weather prediction was like missing your target during a sword fight. The consequences were immediate, permanent, and usually fatal. Pirates who consistently made accurate weather predictions became invaluable crew members, often earning higher shares of treasure simply because they kept everyone alive. But even perfect weather prediction became useless when the storm actually hit. When lightning finally struck, everything depended on whether the crew could work together without getting each other killed. When lightning began dancing across the sky, pirate crews had to work together with military precision. One person making a mistake could kill everyone on board. Every crew member had specific assignments during lightning strikes, and these roles were practiced repeatedly during calm weather. Some pirates handled sail adjustments, others managed the grounding lines, while designated lookouts watched for incoming strikes and shouted warnings to the rest of the crew. Trying to organize a ship full of pirates during an electrical storm was like conducting an orchestra where every musician was drunk, the instruments were on fire, and the concert hall was trying to kill everyone. That's why the best crews drilled these procedures over and over until everyone could perform their duties automatically. In addition to this, communication during strikes required special techniques. Normal shouting was useless over howling winds and crashing thunder. Crews developed hand signals, whistle codes, and other methods to relay critical information quickly. A sharp blast on a whistle might mean lightning approaching from starboard, while 2 short blasts could signal all hands below deck immediately. The captain or designated storm leader would position themselves where they could see the entire ship and coordinate everyone's actions. This person needed nerves of steel because they often had to stay exposed on deck longer than anyone else to direct the crew's movements safely. Interestingly enough, silence became a survival tool. During the most dangerous moments, when lightning was striking very close to the ship, crews would freeze in place and remain completely quiet. Any sudden movement or loud noise could attract additional strikes or cause someone to make a fatal mistake in the chaos. Getting a bunch of rowdy pirates to shut up and stay still was harder than finding buried treasure on a crowded beach. But when their lives depended on it, even the loudest crews learned to follow orders instantly and without question. Lookout positions were carefully chosen for maximum visibility while maintaining safety. These pirates had to watch the sky constantly, tracking where lightning was striking and predicting where it might hit next. They'd call out warnings like "strike coming port side" or multiple flashes ahead to help the crew prepare. Beyond the basics, pre-planned safety drills made the difference between life and death. Crews would practice lightning response procedures during good weather, timing how quickly they could secure the ship and get everyone to safety positions. The best crews could complete their entire lightning preparation routine in under 5 minutes. Role assignments were based on experience and physical ability. Newer crew members got simpler, safer tasks like securing loose objects or maintaining below-deck areas. Veterans handled the dangerous jobs like adjusting rigging or monitoring grounding systems. Nobody wanted the newest crew member making life-or-death decisions when lightning was trying to turn everyone into crispy pirates. Managing a pirate ship during a lightning storm required juggling more tasks than a circus performer while being shot at by invisible cannons that never missed their target. The level of multitasking and coordination required was extraordinary, but all the coordination in the world couldn't prevent lightning from actually hitting the ship. When that happened, the crew faced their most dangerous challenge, yet surviving the aftermath. Lightning strikes didn't just hurt people, they could cripple entire ships in seconds. Pirates who survived the initial strike faced an immediate race against time to repair damage before the next bolt hit. On the other hand, fire was the most urgent threat. Lightning could ignite sails, ropes, or wooden deck planks instantly. Crews kept buckets of seawater positioned around the ship specifically for fighting these electrical fires. The key was responding within seconds, not minutes, because flames could spread across tar-soaked rigging faster than anyone could run. Fighting fires on a wooden ship during a lightning storm was like trying to blow out birthday candles while someone kept lighting them again with a blowtorch. Pirates had to work quickly while staying low to avoid becoming targets for additional strikes. At the same time, water damage control became equally important. Lightning strikes could punch holes in sails or split wooden masts, allowing rain and seawater to flood critical areas of the ship. Quick patches using spare canvas, rope, and wooden planks could prevent minor damage from becoming catastrophic flooding. Even more critical, rope replacement was often the most urgent repair task. Lightning could burn through rigging ropes in an instant, and without proper rigging, ships lost the ability to control their sails or maintain structural integrity. Smart crews kept spare ropes pre-cut to common lengths, ready for immediate installation. These repairs required either incredible courage or complete stupidity, and in the heat of the moment, both looked exactly the same. Separately, medical treatment started immediately after strikes. Lightning burns were different from regular fire burns. They often went deeper and followed strange patterns across the body where electricity had traveled through metal objects or wet clothing. Pirates used seawater to clean wounds, though this caused excruciating pain for burn victims. Cloth wraps torn from spare clothing provided basic bandaging for electrical burns. Some crews carried rum specifically for medical use, pouring it on serious wounds as a primitive antiseptic. The rum probably helped with pain management too, though patients weren't exactly in a position to complain about the quality of their medical care. Just as important, damage assessment required systematic checking of every critical ship component. Pirates would inspect masts for cracks or splits that might cause them to collapse later. They'd test rigging lines to make sure they could still bear weight. Metal components got checked for heat damage or structural weakening. Discovering your ship had sprung a leak during a lightning storm was like finding out your boots had holes while walking through a swamp. Inconvenient timing didn't even begin to describe the problem, but ignoring potential hull damage could mean the ship would sink hours after successfully surviving the lightning strikes themselves. Mast repairs often required improvised engineering. When lightning split a wooden mast, crews would wrap it with rope and spare wood planks to restore enough structural integrity to keep sailing. These repairs rarely looked pretty, but they kept ships functional until proper repairs could be made in port. Pirates who survived lightning strikes often described feeling like they'd been kicked by an invisible sea monster. You knew something had hit you hard, but figuring out exactly what was wrong took time. Recovery meant dealing with both the obvious injuries and the hidden ones that might not surface until later. The pirates who mastered all these recovery techniques, from rapid fire suppression to emergency medical care, earned reputations as some of the most capable sailors on the seven seas. They understood that surviving lightning wasn't just about avoiding the initial strike, but about quickly recovering from damage and getting back to the business of being pirates.